Hi, I'm Chuck Gibson, your host for Loveland Beacon Talks. Today we meet Mr. Brian Martin. Brian is the founder and CEO of TMC Construction Services based here in Loveland. Serving the home remodeling needs of families throughout the greater Cincinnati area, his focus is on your home remodel, designed and built to perfection. Every remodeling contractor promises quality craftsmanship, and Brian Martin is the first to say, some deliver. The fact is, some don't. Mr. Martin and TMC Construction Services team pride themselves on delivering quality craftsmanship with fair and honest pricing. Raised in a family of modest means, he understands the importance of budget and quality work. He learned how helping someone makes a difference and brings a passion for helping others to his business. He has a foundation of unwavering faith that drives his desire to help others. He has over 20 years in the building trades, including 14 years working for others, before his fire and passion to take care of people inspired him to start his own company. Now, 9 years later, TMC Construction Services is known for quality remodeling. It is my pleasure to introduce Brian Martin of TMC Construction Services. So Brian Martin, thank you for joining us here on Loveland Beacon. I call it Loveland Beacon Talks. But thank you for joining us today, and we're going to learn a little bit about TMC Construction Services and hopefully a lot about you. And I'm going to say Mr. Martin this time, but call me Chuck. I'm going to call you Brian as we go through this, and keep it nice and conversational, my friend. So happy to have you with us. Tell me a little bit about your background and what inspired you to develop TMC Construction Services.
Well, thank you for having me, Chuck, and I've always been a big fan of the Loveland Beacon, and I appreciate you having me. I was raised in a single-parent household. My mom raised us, and I think being raised with minimal means, when we had to have the car work done or a repairman come to the house, it was a big deal to find somebody that we could trust that wasn't going to take advantage of the situation. And I think growing up that way, I always had a passion for looking out for people, especially people that might have minimal means. And when I got through high school and college, I started working in the construction industry, and specifically in the building trades, where we would provide building materials to contractors around the city. And I did that for 14 years, and I got to see some really great companies and some companies that maybe didn't do things the way I would want them done to me. So that lit the fire and gave me the passion to do this on my own and see if we couldn't make a business out of taking good care of people.
Yeah. Well, let me back up just for a second. As you mentioned,
sure.
You got into the business and you spent 14 years, right out of college, getting into the construction trades. What are some examples that kind of you got to observe and see and experience the different kinds of contractors, the different kinds of material suppliers? What are some examples of the things that you said, hey, this is the right way? And then some of the examples in contrast to that, I don't think this is the way I would want to do it. This isn't really the right way to take care of a customer. What were some of those examples?
Well, as you can imagine, when you work somewhere for 14 years like that, you see a lot of companies come and go. That they might make a big splash, and then a couple years goes by, and they're either out of business or moved away or doing something different. So I got to see some businesses like that, and I got to see some businesses that just continually, year after year, were very successful. And so I got to watch that occur, and it seemed to me that there's a few things, and one of them, as an example, is if a company was very sales-oriented, maybe had a sales staff, but didn't have quite the emphasis on the craftsmanship or the design or the cleanliness, those attributes, but more focused on sales. Don't get me wrong, sales is very important. The company has to has to have sales.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you want to sell your services and make a couple of dollars, I suppose.
For sure. But I kind of went by. I kind of followed the philosophy. There's a sales expert that most people have heard of named Zig Ziglar,
sure.
And he used to say, if you help enough people get what they want, you will eventually get what you want. And I like that focus of, I think if we just help enough customers get what they want, and give them a good experience, then the business will come. And rather than let's go out and get a bunch of new business and then worry about taking care of how we're going to take care of the customer. I think I found that to be a backwards approach.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That makes perfect sense. As somebody who, seeks quality craftsmen to take care of whatever things I want at my home, I definitely understand and appreciate, your approach. Let me ask you. We'll kind of move fast forward just for a second too. So you had that experience for 14 years. If I got this right, it was 14 years working for somebody else before you founded TMC Construction Services.
Correct.
Okay. Well, so tell me about the beginning. And, well, actually, let me ask you this. So TMC, see, now in my mind, TMC stands for the Martin Company. Because, Brian Martin. So
that's correct.
Yeah, I never asked you that. And so I just had in my mind that TMC is the Martin Company Construction Services. So that's your name. Your name is on the business.
Correct. And we went that route because, when you start a business like this, you don't know what exactly the market needs at the time. I mean, you do your best research, but the market tells you what they need. So I wanted it to be generic enough that if people needed bathroom remodels, we could help people with that. But if the need changed and they needed replacement windows, and that was a need in Loveland, then I wanted to be able to adapt and not be, the bathroom company. So, and again, so when I decided to venture off on my own, which, I'm a man of faith, and that it required a leap of faith to do this, my first goal was to develop a team. I needed craftsmen that not only could do the work, but that were trustworthy and had the character and values that I could trust in someone's home. So that, rather than hire salespeople or, I needed to build that team of people that I could trust.
How do you go about that when you're finding the craftsmen? Developing those relationships with guys. Okay, I know they have the skills. I get how you kind of find the craftsmen, but developing those relationships, so you say, okay, I know I can trust this person. He has the skills, and he's going to do quality craftsmanship kind of work. How did you develop those?
Well, it takes a lot of interviewing, a lot of meeting, a lot of conversations. Because there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent in the area of highly skilled craftsmen. So that's a little bit easier to find. I'm more particular about the character of the person and just clean backgrounds and clean lifestyle and someone that shares my passion for taking care of people and giving them an exceptional experience. experience. So that takes more time to define, which is why, we have 4 employees. We don't have 40, and that's why it's hard. It's hard to find, folks. So I believe we've got 4 of the best, highly skilled craftsmen, good character, very trustworthy. But it's not easy. It's not easy to find a team like that.
Yeah. Well, and I've been remiss because we talked a little bit about, as you were developing, TMC Construction Services, and I should give you the chance right now to tell people out there that may not necessarily know, well, what is TMC Construction Services? So, Brian, what, you mentioned, you didn't want to be like pigeonholed into we're just the bathroom company. So what are the things that people, if somebody's looking to do some remodeling or build or whatever, what kind of services is TMC Construction Services? How wide-ranging are you?
Well, before I answer that, can I backtrack for 1 second?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So the fact that we've been blessed to have the team that we have, there's evidence in that. I in 2016 had a liver transplant and was laid up for about a year and a half, and then a couple years ago went through lymphoma, and again was laid up for about a year. And our team, just didn't miss a beat. They worked hard. They carried on the mission of taking care of people and doing quality work. And I didn't have to worry about them. So that just is more evidence of the kind of folks that work with TMC.
Right.
To answer your question, we started off strictly focusing on bathrooms because that's what seemed like people were calling for. So we geared all of our vehicles and tools and equipment and vendor relationships around that. And over time, when you do a good job for somebody, when they need a kitchen or they need a front door or they need window, they end up calling you back because you've proven to them that they can trust you. So that our business was started on bathroom remodels, but since has grown into other activities because of being asked to come back.
Well, personally, and hopefully I can speak a little bit for readers of the Loveland Beacon because we've shared some of your stories. So I know, for example, the overall kind of remodel, the kitchen remodel, even other spaces in a home besides kitchen and bathroom. The most recent one we shared a full story on Loveland Beacon about what you guys did. And shoot, all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank on that family. But man, the kitchen, the laundry room, moving that upstairs, office space, and beverage. I mean, just the what do we call it, like the beverage station there?
Correct.
And then also, Brian, I've seen the work TMC can do because outdoor living has certainly become a big thing, more so now than maybe we remember in the past. But I've seen you totally change an outdoor living space for a local family. So I think that really, and they talked about exactly what you just said, making the point, you did one thing for them and then they called you back, whether they were calling you to like, can you recommend somebody or is this work that you do? And they called you back to do the job, to help with the design and to actually do the craftsmanship. So it really does speak well of how your TMC Construction Services has evolved from, as you said, maybe let's start out doing some bathroom remodels, but when people call on us to do other things, they can trust us to do that. I mean, I think we got that right.
It's the reward. I mean, getting paid is always nice and necessary, but the reward is when someone recommends you or they call you and ask you back. That's when we, as a team, feel like we did a good job. That's that's the reward for us.
Yeah. Well, and then, you beat me to the punch because I didn't know. I was going to ask you if you wanted to talk a little bit about, Brian Martin himself and some of the challenges you faced, as you said, with, all of a sudden, some liver failure and being, on hold, I think, as you said, for like almost 18 months. And yet you were able to, here TMC Construction Services was out there with the people that you have, that you trust, running your business and taking care of the customers. But, in truth, Brian, they were taking care of you, too, because you were able to, focus on your health. Share a little bit about that. Let's go back first to the situation with being on a transplant wait list, and then ultimately, and I don't, hey, do not hesitate to share a little bit about the people that have been life-changing and life-saving for you, the UC Health transplant team, for crying out loud. That's an unbelievable story. If you could. Well,
I'm happy to discuss it. It's definitely a humbling experience when your health fails and you need help, and not wanting to be a person that asks for help, definitely being forced into that. But I was born with a disease in my liver, and finally failed 7 years ago, and actually longer than that. But I was on the waiting list for almost 2 years. You actually came and interviewed me during that time. I probably looked a lot different then.
And Mr. Martin, that truly is a blessing in my life to get to meet you and to get to know you. And, tough circumstances to get to meet you, but I have seen, the change in terms of life-saving and the continued health. But I also saw how your business was continuing while you were, down for the count, is how I would say it.
It really just a blessing to have, our church and, friends and brothers and sisters and all come behind me and help our family, and the TMC team with Tim and Carly, our designers, and the guys. Just incredible that they carried the ball, and really it also showed me that maybe just how much TMC maybe doesn't need me, because they did fantastic. And just again, you said that they were helping me and doing it for me, and probably there's some truth to that, but they truly do share my passion in making sure that our clients are taken care of. We let dogs out. We bring trash cans in. We lock up their houses while they're on vacation, and whatever they need, that just gives us a lot of satisfaction to be relied upon, and so that to me that's the kind of company that I want to work at, is a company that cares like that, and thankfully we've been blessed to have a team that shares that same passion.
Yeah. Well, your passion comes through in the quality of the work that's done and the stories that are told by your customers, by your clients who you've already served, and who I know, as I've met some of them, have shared that, we're just looking forward to our next project and having, Mr. Martin and his team back again. But Brian, there's something else that you do beyond, going to the homes and doing those projects, with your support of Loveland Beacon and your contributions on Loveland Beacon with some of the pieces that you've written and we've been able to share and publish out there for the people. And right now, you and I are in the midst of a 5-part series that you've put together about the mistakes that too often happen, I'll say, I don't want to say people make them, but I guess people do make these mistakes as homeowners when they're hiring or choosing the right contractor to do whatever remodel or building that they need done. Touch real quick. I know, like I said, we're in the midst of, we're actually on part 3 right now out of 5 common mistakes people make when hiring a contractor. What are those mistakes? Just real quick, if you want to sort of list those 5. I don't want you to go through it because we're publishing that for the people to read. But
yeah, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I understand that TMC might not be a fit for everybody, and I get it. Not every company is, but if I can help people in the community that might be thinking about hiring somebody, just to avoid some of the common mistakes that I've seen people make, that would be good. So, for example, the first mistake that I think I listed was when people are being pressured to sign a contract.
Right.
And there's a variety of reasons that they might sign something that they're being pressured, and sometimes it's the discount that's going to expire in a short period of time, or a sign in someone's yard, or maybe it's just out of frustration because you just can't find somebody, so you just sign a deal that maybe you're not 100% comfortable with. That is one, probably the most common, is just being pressured to sign something. I think back to, again, my youth, or when I was, having some health issues. You don't always have the energy or the time to go interview a bunch of contractors. So, you end up being pressured to sign something. So that is something that I think, if people can avoid feeling like they've got to sign something in a certain amount of time. And I would just encourage people to take your time. If the project has to be delayed, if the repair has to be delayed a bit, it's always better to interview some more people and get comfortable with somebody.
Yeah, I was thinking as you're saying that, Brian, like if the contractor that you're talking to is giving you it's now or never, probably your best response will be, well, then never, I'm going to find somebody else.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
We shouldn't feel pressured time-wise any more than a contractor should be pressured by us to hurry up and do the job. We give, it goes both ways.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I agree.
What are a couple of and again, what are a couple of the other common mistakes, just as if you listed those off?
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly which one I gave you as the second one, but another one is, so in the contracting, remodeling industry, there's multiple ways to get a project completed. And some companies only have a sales staff, and then when they sell a project, they'll go find an electrician or go find a plumber, go find somebody that does tile work, and go find a paint, and all these different trades, and then call each trade to come in when the time's right. And that might work for some projects, but I would caution people to assume that's the only way or the best way for every project, because I don't think it is. I think for some projects it probably works, maybe if it's an outside project and you've got, a deck and a landscaper and, different, electrician for the lighting, and maybe something like that. But when you've got a team inside your home with a bathroom torn apart, the last thing you want to do is be on a waiting list for a plumber to come finish the plumbing, and everything else is at a standstill. So I've seen it happen enough times, and which is why for TMC having our own staff for those types of projects is really helpful, because the project doesn't stop. We just continue. We're not waiting for somebody. So like I said, being a subcontractor is not a bad thing. There's some great subcontractors out there, and some companies only operate that way. And there's nothing wrong with that for certain projects.
Right. Well, I think as I'm listening, and hopefully as the people who listen in on this to you pick up on the idea, the difference is, and it's not just TMC, but it is a focus for TMC Construction Services to not be like a general contractor and going out and finding people. You have a staff, you have quality craftsmen that are there ready to do the job that you're hired to do, and the people, when they're hiring you, they're hiring TMC Construction Services, not the guy, the salesman that called on the phone and said, I can find you the contractors to do that work. And that's
correct.
Maybe a tip from you is, and again, there's a lot of people out there that do it well. I'm going to say I know that TMC Construction Services is right there at the top of the list. But for people that are looking, and if they look elsewhere, to make sure they find somebody that's just not, a phone bank, and they're going to go seek the contractors to do the work, that they're ready to come in and do the work with a team of quality craftsmen.
I agree. I think, like most successful transactions, if the relationship's good, things sure go a lot better. And so having the relationship with a contractor that you're comfortable with how they operate, and all the attributes of the project, and it sure goes a lot better than rushing or hiring somebody that you're not sure, how they operate. So I think that relationship is just key.
Well, Brian, you and I both, hopefully we're both benefiting from the relationship with TMC Construction Service, supporting Loveland Beacon and local journalism here in our community, and hopefully it's reciprocal in terms of Loveland Beacon helping support your business. And so I just want to thank you for joining us today, and remind the people, TMC Construction Services, is that what's that web address or email address so people can reach out to you if they're interested in doing some home remodeling projects?
Well, like I said, Loveland Beacon is a great resource for our community, just to get local information. The way you write and the way you cover things is just always professional and top notch, and I've always been a big fan. The best way to get a hold of TMC is just the website, which is tmcbuild.com. You can email me through there, or you can call me directly at 513-781-3000.
Perfect. So TMCbuild.com is the website, and they can find all the contact information through there, including that direct connect phone number to reach Mr. Brian Martin and TMC Construction Services. And Brian, once again, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate your taking the time to share the TMC story, and I look forward to the next time we talk and share some more tips and advice for people looking to make some home improvements, or maybe make some changes in their homes.
Well, thank you so much, Chuck. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Take care, Brian.